Looks like we're having a little bit of camera issues, but we're going to try to work it through. Hey everyone, so we're back at it again for another discussion with another friend of mine. I know her, dang, almost over 20 years. We went to the same high school, but I wanted to celebrate her and allow her to come and talk to us about her successes. So I will give her the opportunity to do so. So I hope you all enjoyed today's discussion. Here we go. And without further ado, let's join in Jan. Hey Jan, how you doing?
Hey, hey, Otis. I'm doing pretty well.
Excellent, excellent. I apologize about the 14-second delay in coming in, but we were just talking and my mind just kind of went past everything, but it's all good though. I wanted to, first of all say I'm really happy to catch up and talk with you again. It's been a minute, so I see this kind of like almost as a reunion slash interview, which there's nothing wrong with that. I welcome that. I mean, we chat off and on Facebook and all of that, but this is the first time that we actually, okay, there she goes, and there's Jan, and that's that person who I remember. So let's have a nice discussion today, all right?
Alrighty, I'm looking forward to it.
Okay, okay. So, Jan, talk to us. Tell everyone who's checking out our discussion today who you are and what you're all about. Well, actually, no. Who you are and where you came from. How about
All
that?
right. Okay, that's easy. My name is Jan Meyer. I am originally from St. Lucia.
Boop, boop,
I've been
boop,
in the
boop, boop.
US for over 20 years. So, right?
Hmm.
Yep.
so you
So, yeah.
so you've been here in the U.S. for over 20 years. Oh wow. So wait, hold on, because I just hit 25 years this past May. So have you been up here just as long as I've been?
Almost about it. I moved here in 1998. So, what does that give us? Like 22 years? Yeah, it's a little less than you. Yeah.
Oh Lord. Oh God. But it's all. Do you still have your accent? Do you still have you retain something like that at least?
I
Oh, we
can't hear
have.
you.
Do we have a delay again? Oh no. Hold on. We're gonna make this work, right? Because everything was working fine beforehand, and we are not going to just make this fall to the wayside. Let me start this over. Give me a second. Mm, okay, do you hear me now?
There we go.
Okay, good. So you were saying you said 22 years you've been here, but I was asking, do you still have or retain your accent and all those different things?
I think that I have a combination of a lot of accents, especially like what people tell me. So, I think I still, for the most part, have retained a part of my St. Lucian accent.
Mm-hmm.
However, living in New York for a bit, I have
Mm-hmm.
people who think I'm from New York
Mm-hmm.
because certain words have just kind of filtered in, and the way I say them, I sound like a New Yorker. And then, of course, I live in California and have been here for over 10 years. And so there's some California refinement happening in in
You
it.
s-
So
you said refinement. Wait, hold on. California isn't always refined. What are you talking about?
not necessarily refined, but definitely not so like New York has a way, it's like
Mm-hmm.
it is, and then the Caribbean, it's like we have a way of pronouncing words, way of
Mm-hmm.
saying things. And here, being here for 10 years, it's like when people are constantly correcting me and how I say things, I find that I have like changed a little bit of how I speak so
Mm-hmm.
that I'm not constantly like interrupted and be like, wait, what'd you just say? Or that's not how you
Mm-hmm.
say it,
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I meant by refinement.
Okay, okay. I mean, I got you. I got you. I mean, Just like you, I've been told, hey, I have a mixture of a few things when I talk. Of course, you still hear the West Indian accent. Sometimes you hear the New Yorker accent when, especially when I get excited about things. But I've been living in the Midwest and in the South for over half my life. So sometimes I have a Midwestern accent, sometimes I have a Southern accent, sometimes I have a Texan accent. I think honestly, as West Indians, we are we are sponges, but we are necessary sponges because we had to adapt coming from one place and moving to the US, wouldn't you say?
I absolutely agree. It's and like you just pointed out, everywhere that you've landed, you've had to do some more adaptation of,
Mm-hmm.
whether it is the words that people say or the way they pronounce things, or
Mm-hmm.
just sometimes even like the way that you act.
Yeah.
You've had to kind of like just adjust based on where you are. But yeah, so I definitely agree with that. Yeah.
I would say, and this kind of stems from the conversation I had yesterday, which was, ooh, it was on fire. That I would say that it's a degree of a code switch that we had to do in order to adopt. So, you won't be ostracized. You won't be looked at as, you won't feel necessarily like you're other. And that's really unfortunate that, unfortunately, a lot of us had to do that in order to be accepted and adapt to our new situations. Well, I see your head shaking. Like, am I saying things that you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, it totally resonates with me. So I'm in law school and I write a paper, and I actually got pulled into my professor's class. And she made a comment about how I write as if English is my second language. And it was very offensive to me because I am from a Caribbean island where our primary language is English. It might be British English, but it's still English. And it really threw me for a
Mm-hmm.
loop. And of course, because you don't want to have that happen, you don't want for me, I didn't want to have it impact my grades. I
Mm-hmm.
started to kind of adopt how they wanted me to write, how she wanted me to just structure my sentences.
Yeah.
Definitely how we spell words, we had to change that,
Mm-hmm.
But it was the first time that I really had like, it's like I'm starting this career and someone looks at me and is like, yeah, the way you speak, you
Mm-hmm.
speak as if like, and it's like, yes, I really like have had to adjust with
Yeah.
how I like, like what you say, how you speak, how you pronounce words,
Mm-hmm.
um, so that you can fit in. Because I really did get tired of being asked to repeat myself again,
Yeah.
or to, it's like have someone correct me, and it's like, well, I know what I said, you know,
You're
and
all right.
have them correct you. Yeah, and
You
so
know,
yeah,
and what's interesting is that this happened to you in law school, right?
yeah,
Where
yeah.
did you go
I
to
have
law
been in the
school?
I went to Hofstra University in Long Island. Yeah.
In a super, multilingual, multicultural area, you had someone tell you, "Hey,
Yeah, you
Jan,
were.
you come off as, hey, is your English your second language?" Ha 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 ha.
Yeah.
That had to be a crazy situation. Is it almost as, say, a cultural situation where you experience your first snowfall, almost, you would say?
Yeah. which which of course we experienced, so we
Mm-hmm.
absolutely understand that. But yeah, it was so foreign to me to
Mm-hmm.
have someone, it's like I grew up speaking English. Like, we
Mm-hmm.
were forced to speak English in school, even if in St. Lucia we speak French Creole as our native language.
Mm-hmm.
And so um for me, it's like I speak English, and she's
Mm-hmm.
like, yeah, sounds like you're speaking a different kind of English, not, not our English, not our American English. And so, yeah,
These are the things that we are such social chameleons. We are. We have to
you
be.
have to be. Yeah,
Like,
you have to be.
like if you didn't take the time to adjust as a young girl coming from St. Lucia up to New York City, the concrete jungle, to
Right.
move to go to school in Long Island, then now you're currently where in California.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
How was that experience out there? First of all, as a West Indian woman moving to California, how was that? How was that experience?
It is very isolating. I think that's like the way I would describe it
Mm-hmm.
because in New York I could find my people. While you sit on the train, you can hear someone who sounds like you or sounds kind of like you.
Mm-hmm.
You go into a market and you can find the foods that you're used to eating.
Mm-hmm.
You can get a restaurant like that will serve food that you want to eat.
Mm-hmm.
And here in Dana Point, California, which is where I'm at, that does not that is
Mm-hmm.
not something that happens. No one looks like me, no one sounds like me. It has been, I don't, the things that the grocery store doesn't have my stuff. Granted, I could get plantains, and I'm very excited when I could get plantains.
Hey, big up, big up, big up, big up to
Right.
plantains.
But yeah, it's definitely, as a West Indian, it is an isolating experience.
Mm-hmm.
And as a Black person, it is also very isolating in data points as well, because
How
there's
would
not many that look like me.
Ooh,
Yeah.
interesting. You know, your story of moving to California and being isolated. To a degree, I kind of experienced that the past 3, almost 4 years. Because in
Okay.
2016, I went to the place of bratwurst and red cabbage. You know what that is?
No,
Germany.
but I guess you'll tell me. Oh my
that's
gosh.
that's Germany, and in Germany, first of all, hold on. Let me put a disclaimer. Germany was a great experience. I appreciated it, but I did not like the food. Point blank and period. That's it. But
Okay.
anyways, Germany was an experience. Being able to travel across Europe, being able to see different places and all of that. It was a good experience, but I didn't like the food. So I had to
Hmm.
adopt. I had to adapt accordingly. I had to find the different seasonings and stuff. I was lucky enough that living near a military base, they cater to the multilingual, multicultural people that are in the military. So you
Okay.
go into the commissary and you buy the little things that you need to be able to cook, so that you could adjust and you could still feel a taste of home or whatever. But it, this experience that I just had was great. I had
Hmm.
another European experience when I was 16, 15, 16. I went to Croatia, and they
Oh my
kept
gosh.
calling. I kept calling myself and another friend of mine, Ranti Ogunlie. They kept
I know,
calling him.
Auntie.
Yeah, there you go. They kept calling him Mike Tyson, and they called me Michael Jordan. And I don't know why they called us that, but hey, it is what it is.
That was like the only Black people from Croatia probably knew. They were like, "Oh, we know Michael Jordan and we know Mike Tyson."
Yeah,
Y'all.
I'm like, why you all keep calling me Mike Tyson and Michael Jordan? That's surreal. But I would say, stemming from those lessons that we've learned, to have to adopt and adapt to whatever locations that we move to, we've become stronger. We've become a more marketable person. Would you say?
Yes. Because you've now learned how to walk into a room and how to hold yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You know how to speak based on your audience,
Mm-hmm.
which, for Black people, for Caribbean people, it's like so much of society looks at you and judges you based on that. It's like it frustrates me. So when I first got out to California, or I just passed the bar, starting my
Mm-hmm.
practice, I went to an event that the bar association was having for new lawyers, and I met an attorney there. And I remember like talking to him and just kind of just being like, hey, it's like, any advice that you can give me while I start all this off? And I remember him saying that you are the only Black person in this room. And I was like, yeah, I know. I'm very uncomfortable. And he was like, don't, don't be uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
Learn to use that to prop yourself up, because you're the only one in the room, you are memorable. And if you always show up in a good way, in a positive way, then people will remember you. They'll want to do business with you.
Mm-hmm.
You won't ever just blend into the crowd. And
Mm-hmm.
that was a old white man telling me this. He actually ended up hiring me to work as a contract attorney with him, and gave me, a start with my practice. He still like serves as my unofficial mentor when I need things from him.
Mm-hmm.
10 years later, but it's something that I have used and teach my kids to use living here. Is it's like you stand out. So when you put yourself out there, make sure that you're putting on that positive, you know image, so that people, and always like approach life in that positive way,
Mm-hmm.
so that when people remember you, which they will remember you, they're remembering you for the good things.
I
They
see my race. I see your race. I see my race. I see people's of color's race who are in white majority areas as a superpower.
Mhm.
Point blank and
Yeah,
period.
yeah,
I'm,
we are able to, we're able to like capitalize on a situation that based on how you look at it. You can look
mm-hmm.
at it from a place of negativity, you can look at it from a place of fear, or
Mm-hmm.
you can take it from a place of strength. That and I like I said, like, I respect and have held those words as a testament. When I walk into a room, I don't feel uncomfortable anymore. I feel very confident. I feel like I have earned my place in that room. And it translates into how people interact with me.
Mm-hmm.
How my clients interact with me on a day-to-day basis. And it's amazing. It's amazing when you're actually able to understand that power, and you're actually able to capitalize on it.
Ooh,
So
you sound like a ninja. You sound like a social. You sound like a social adjustment ninja that, you know, control your area and adapt to it and become one with your area.
right.
And that is
Totally Mr.
excellent.
Miyagi.
That is excellent. But let's go ahead and talk about some of these comments that are coming in. People are leaving some comments, so we're gonna have. Hey Tasha Ford, she said, "Hey, following." She's a sorority sister of mine, and she has been supporting me from day one. So shout out to you, Tasha. I
Hey,
appreciate you.
Tasha.
Appreciate you. Hey, this is Brother Spence from yesterday. He said, "Hey, way to work through the tech hiccups. Thank you for that. Appreciate you. Hey, Facebook is acting crazy today, but it's all good." He said, he. The best food in Germany is shawarma from the Middle East. Yes, absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely. Like the Middle Eastern guys, the Turkish shops, the lambs, the kebab. Oh my God, the kebabs. The food is so good from the Turkish guys. No
Yeah.
disrespect to the German guys, but the Turkish guys got the best food. And then we've got two more comments here. One from Miss Price. She said, "Good way to turn it around, being the only one in the room. Don't see it as a disadvantage. See it as an opportunity for you to stand out from the crowd." But
Yep.
I'm going to come back to the opportunity from standing out to the crowd, and I'll come back to that point. And he said, "Ooh, be memorable." Yes,
Yep.
but as far as this point here, I agree with it. But unfortunately, everything has a two-way street, right? You could be
Yeah.
memorable in the crowd. You can stand out and kick ass socially and do your thing to advance yourself, but then others may see you as this person that's standing out, first of all, and discount the hard work that you've put in you've put in that grind. All right. Some people may
Yeah.
want to say, "Hey, they're only there because they're only being given a hand me up or whatever it is. They're only there because of quotas that has to be filled. They're only there because some liberal wants to help them out and all that different stuff. How do you get beyond that thought process? How do you teach it? How do you motivate? How do you educate that person to remove themselves from that ignorant mindset?
So for me, having raised and raising a young man in Dana Point, a lot of the conversations we have, the same conversations that, it's like almost every mom out there is having with her Black son. It's like, I have to have it with him, and we've talked about the fact that, people might look at you and wonder why you're here.
Yeah.
They might question how you got here, and might actually go as far as to say that you didn't deserve to be here.
Yeah.
One thing that you have to do is be very confident in knowing your struggle. People don't need to know your struggle, but you need to know it. You need to own it. You need to understand and own where you came from, so that when you stand in that room and someone's questioning your right to be there, that it doesn't have as much weight on you. Also, I'm sorry, isn't nepotism like the way the world runs?
Hey, it may be that way. I mean, hell, I want to be a senior advisor to, I don't know, a president or something like that.
Yeah, I feel like everyone is using someone to get somewhere. It's
Yeah.
like it's so much of how we become who we are. No matter how hard we work, sometimes you need someone to help you. You need someone to to push you. You need someone who's going to believe in you. And if it doesn't matter. I tell my son, it doesn't matter who that person is. If you've got someone who's helping you, don't look at it as if it's like, a handout. Look at it as people supporting people. That's what we do. That is how the world works. And it's like so often we put a negative spin on that. Like, oh, you didn't get here on your own because somebody recommended you. Yeah. Somebody recommended you basically turn back to that person and say, well, somebody recommended you to be here. It's like, that is just how we get places. And
But as Brother Spence said yesterday, the system was built for those who take advantage of it and those who are being, coddled and taken care of. How do you counter that system? It's sort of like, say for instance, I don't know, St. Lucia was built for dark-skinned folks to flourish and do their thing, and then you see someone come in who doesn't look like you. Isn't that the same sort of way?
of course, and you're gonna say the same kind of thing, but that person who's coming in, does that person need to accept what I'm saying about them? Does that person need to then take what I'm saying and make it their truth? I think that is the difference. It's like you're always going to have someone saying something about how you got where you are,
Yeah.
especially as we just talked about the fact that you stand out in a crowd where it's only you or you're one of a few. And so just because someone's thinking something about you, just because someone's saying something about you, doesn't mean that it's true, and doesn't mean that you have to take it and make it your truth. You know how you got here. You know what you had to get through to get here, and you're always going to have someone who will look at you and say something. And it's not necessarily, they're always going to have something negative to say, So if we take on all the negativity that comes, it clogs your head and your judgment, and then it stops you from accomplishing. It's paralyzing, and it stops you from accomplishing. Look, I tell my kids, and it was very sad to have said that, but I did. The only things that you cannot change about your life and that can stand in the way is the color of your skin, because that is something that you cannot change, and that is something that you're going to have to contend with for the rest of your life. However, given all of that, you still push, you still fight, you still try, you don't stop. You just don't. You can't take all of it. Think of it as noise. It's noise. It's noise, and it's hard. It's like, it's hard because sometimes you can't ignore the noise.
Yeah.
Sometimes the noise is so loud that it seeps into your crevices. and
What
and
I would say, what if that noise that's being said is the exact noise from the ones that put money in your pocket? That they're your employers, they're your supervisors, they're your judges and your police officers. I mean, how is one supposed to counter that sort of environment?
I think it's difficult. It is a fight.
Mm-hmm.
And if the moment the way I look at it is, the moment you give up, the moment you let all of the noise in and you let it stop you, is the moment that you let those people win.
Got you.
That's the moment they win. It's like we all you so I remember a while ago when you first came up here, you would mention a story about how you used to see yourself as, you used to always want to like point out to people that you're not African American, that you're Caribbean,
Mm-hmm.
and that you were like knocked off that peg real quickly when
Mm-hmm.
everyone else was like, you back.
Mm-hmm. 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 Mm-hmm.
We don't care about whether you're from the Caribbean or you're exotic, you're black,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And you basically had to like accept that. You had to accept that people are going to look at you in that way, and that you no longer wanted to qualify and go through this whole process of explaining to people that you weren't black, that you were you were Afro Caribbean. I think it's the same kind of thing. It's like you're like, look, I get it. I can't change your mind. I
Mm-hmm.
can't make you see me any differently. So I'm just gonna keep doing me. I'm gonna keep doing me as best as I can. We're always gonna have those obstacles that are in your path, and
Mm-hmm.
some of them can, knock you down, but it's not the obstacle that knocks you down. It's what you do after you're knocked down. I think that matters. And that is, for me, the lesson that I want my kids to learn. And that's the lesson that I want other people, hopefully watching this, to
Yeah.
learn, is that you're always going to have that. You're always going to have someone telling you what they think you are, what they think you should be doing, what your place is, and it's like, are you gonna let them? It's like,
Mm-hmm.
because if you let them, then they'll put you in that place, and they
Yes.
will keep you in that place, you know. And
Mm-hmm.
so you just gotta keep fighting, and it sucks. It really does suck. It really does suck that this is what African American people, what Black people have to contend with in
Mm-hmm.
this country. It's like, why the hell can't we just be like everyone else and walk down the street and go for a run and, like, live our lives and
Yeah.
open businesses and achieve and, succeed like everyone else? Why do we have to, like, fight? But when life
Some
gives
people
you,
see it. Some people see it as a spiritual thing, like, oh, it's written in the Bible. I mean,
nah, man,
yeah,
nah,
exactly, exactly,
nah.
exactly. Your mentality there is how I felt. But you know, let's read some of the comments that are coming in, right? And we could go into and talk about, talking about fighting. I want to hear about your fight, your struggle, your move to be as a successful businesswoman as you are right now, and then we could transition
Okay.
into. So let's read some of the comments. We got, they get threatened when they see you stand out. There's a ooh,
Yeah.
there's that
Hmm.
almost envy that people have when they
Yep.
see that, ooh, this rose then bloom through the concrete. I want to
Yep.
be that rose. Why can't I have the cool shining light that's being shone on that rose?
Hmm.
Why can't I have that? Some people have that sort of feeling, right?
Yep.
And
Hmm.
then we have Miss Florina
Floriana.
Narvaez, Floriana. Sorry, I can't read today. Sorry. Truth be told, hey, I
Yep.
appreciate your comments there. But Jan, talk to us about your transition into business. So you've moved to the U.S. from islands. You
Hmm.
graduated high school. You went to law school. You moved to California. You're a married woman. You're practicing And I want to know, what is this successful business thing that you're running now? Tell us about it.
So yeah, so get I get out here from from New York.
Mm-hmm.
I take the bar, I pass the bar. I start like sending out my resume, trying to. It was
Mm-hmm.
like 2010, trying to get like hired by somebody, and
Mm-hmm.
then everyone was getting laid off. The law was taking a hit in 2010, and I remember a friend of mine, and I'm like, I bring up the point of the people who like have encouraged me, because you don't get where you are by yourself.
Yes.
It's like you're always gonna have someone who's supporting, encouraging, who's there, the wind beneath your wings. That's how we get to where that's how we get to places, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this friend, we're talking, and he's like, "Well, you should start your own practice." And I'm like, "God, I can't start my own practice. I don't know what the hell I'm doing. I'm a lawyer. We were taught to like to be practicing lawyers. We're not taught like business."
Mm-hmm.
And he basically was like, "Look, you just passed the California bar, which is the hardest bar in the country. If you can do that, you can start your own business and you
Mm-hmm.
can run your own business."
Mm-hmm.
And so I brought it up to my husband. I'm like, "Hey, it's like maybe I do this for a couple of months. Maybe I create my own experience, because everyone's asking for experience. So maybe I
Mm-hmm.
create my own experience. And then in a year, I go and I apply. And now I don't look all green. Now I look like, a better prospect than I was coming in fresh out of law school."
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, "Okay, that sounds, we can do this." My kids are like little at the time. And I do. I start my practice. He's like, "Oh, you need an office." I don't need an office. I just need a computer. He's like, "No, you need." So I create my business plan.
Mm-hmm.
I send it to, because when I was in law school, I worked for this attorney, and so I sent my business plan to him, and I'm like, "Hey, what do you think?"
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking he's gonna get back and be like, "You crazy girl, you need to get a job."
Mm-hmm.
He basically scrapped up my business plan, pushed up all my timelines to like like the now. I was like pushing out like 6 months, I'm gonna do this. Nope, he was like, "You can do this right now, you like." And I was like, "Okay."
Mm-hmm.
Someone who's seen me work, someone who saw me work for a year and a half before I was a lawyer, is now telling me that I can do this and I can do it now. And so I did. I got an office downtown. My husband loaned me some money, and he was like, "Okay, you've got 3 months. You better stop you better stop being able to pay your bills after 3 months.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, get a job."
Mm-hmm.
And I built my own website. I put an ad in the local paper. I did all this research on like how to hang up your own shingle, how to start your own practice. Mind you, we're in the middle of a recession, and I am starting
Mm-hmm.
this
Mm-hmm.
venture in a new place where I have no network, no connections. I know no one but my husband and my kids.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to say it was like right on the 3rd month mark of the test, I got my first client. He called and he said, "I know you're new." He's like, "I looked you up. I know you just passed the bar, but it looks like you have no knocks or strikes against you.
Mm-hmm.
This is going to be an interview. I'm going to interview you and see how you do. And if I like what you do, then I will hire you."
Nice.
My very first client. And then once that happened, then the next client came. And before I knew it, I was paying my bills independently. And it's here I am, 9
Hey, if
years
anything,
later.
that is a hell of a motivational, message and story and testimony that people could enjoy, and maybe, people may be reaching out to you as far as help, as because we have advertised the ticker on the bottom. It says
Yes.
Dana Point Wills. So what does Dana Point Wills do? What does it do?
So we are a trust and estates, probate and trust litigation law
Mm-hmm.
practice.
Mm-hmm.
We help families plan for their, for the incapacity or
Mm-hmm.
for when they've passed away. I like to think of my practice as a family first approach to estate planning.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not so concerned about how much you have, but more so of what's most important to you and how do we protect that. So for a lot of people, that's their families. They come in and they tell you, if they've got minor kids, I want to make sure that someone's there to take care of my kid. I want my kids to live this life, blah, 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 blah. And I help my clients figure that out. Like, how are
Mm-hmm.
we going to get there? It's like, I always tell like my clients to come in with minor kids, the one assignment I give them is think about if you're not here anymore, what life do you envision for your children?
Mm.
Once we have that vision in mind, then we could go ahead, we could start planning on making that happen, whether that's like,
Yeah.
making sure there's enough real estate, life insurance, whether there's
Mm-hmm.
like, enough cash. Are we gonna like, is there who, even down to like, the guardians and who you're gonna appoint? That all
Mm-hmm.
plays a part in, in this conversation. Are your kids gonna be religious? Or how much do you care about college? It's like all those things. Those are the kind of conversations that we have. And honestly, it is the conversations that my husband and I had when we were
Mm-hmm.
doing this. And so I bring that into my practice. And like I said, it's all about family first. How do we protect your family? If you were
Yeah.
to be incapacitated and if you were to die, how do we make sure that your family unit stays intact? They're not fighting over stuff.
Ooh, yeah.
Oh my gosh, that they that
Yeah, man.
the most
Ooh.
peaceful transition. I that is like that's all about it. If you're gonna be sitting in my office, it's because you're looking for that, and
Mm-hmm.
I help you figure out how to get it with the plan that we create.
Yeah, I've and I don't even say this as a joke, but I've repeatedly say to a lot of folks, GoFundMe should not be your insurance.
Nope.
You need
No.
to plan.
Yep.
You need to plan accordingly. People of color, especially, we need to plan accordingly because.
Yes. Yeah. And the truth is, I saw this statistic recently that most African Americans don't have an estate plan. That the majority of people who do die with an estate plan on occasion. And it's like we think about the distribution of wealth, and we think about how people, how the wealth transfers from generation to generation.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of that is because somebody created an estate plan at some point in that life. They created a
Mm-hmm.
trust. They had like life insurance. They put their house in there. They preserved those assets and then
Mm-hmm.
passed it on to their kids, but also armed and equipped their kids with hard work and ethics. So those kids did not just rely on their inheritance;
Mm-hmm.
that they actually made something themselves. And then because they saw what their parents did, then they did it the same thing for their kids, and then and it just goes on and on and on. And so it's like I think that we as a society, we as a culture, African Americans especially, Black
Mm-hmm.
people, Caribbean people, we need to be doing that for our heirs. It's like you can equip your family with like however much work ethic that you want to equip them with,
Mm-hmm.
but you've got to give them something to start. And I agree with you, and I say it all the time when I see people on GoFundMe asking for funeral expenses. I'm like, do you realize how inexpensive a life insurance policy is?
Yeah.
It's like you can actually, and especially right now with COVID-19, you can
Mm-hmm.
actually, I own a life insurance policy. I pay $20 a month. I don't even notice the $20 a month, but I have coverage that would keep that would basically get my family through
Yeah.
a couple of months, pay off the mortgage, school loans, all this stuff, and get them
Mm-hmm.
comfortable if something would happen to me. And it's like the peace of mind that you feel knowing that it's worth the $20.
Yeah.
God, we spend a lot more money on things that don't give us that kind of security.
Yes.
And yeah,
Absolutely.
so I agree that GoFundMe should not be your estate plan. That we
Gotcha.
need to sit down and it's hard. It's like it's hard to think about death. It's hard to plan for it, but it's a gift that you give to your family, and
Yes.
it's a gift that keeps on giving when it's done and done right. So
Yes. Yes.
that's
Yes.
that's my speech and my plug.
Hey, and I appreciate you telling us in very, common sense detail about why it's important and what exactly do you do. So let me read off a couple of the comments that I see coming in, and I'd like to, move towards closing of our discussion, right? So we got a couple comments coming in. We got Pushing Beyond Fear. Oh, yes, yes, Miss Eustacia Herman. See, how am I able to pronounce Eustacia so easy?
But you
But
couldn't say Floriana. Yeah, exactly.
I'm struggling today. So here's another one from her. She said, yes, you do need to share that testimony. Well, that testimony is on our YouTube page. So you can share the link away, away, away. So thank you so much for joining us on that. And then we've got a comment from YouTube. Hey, I think this is my first ever YouTube comment, so shout out to that. From Afrosporan, he said, kudos. You translated your discomfort into a beautiful result. If anything, Jen, I would say translating our discomfort to a beautiful situation is the story of the West Indian moving to the Caribbean. And as I really enjoyed hearing your testimony. I really enjoyed hearing from you. I really enjoy seeing you again, as always. It is just, that's Jen that I know from high school. It is wonderful seeing you. And I just got to, say, hey, thank you for coming and joining and talking with me. If you got any, I guess, parting things that you'd like to share with us, let me know.
I would say, it's like I just want to reiterate that we will always have, obstacles. They will always come. For me, getting pregnant in my second year of college was a big obstacle. But here I am, it's like my son is 17, graduating college. We don't need to allow our obstacles to become the death of our dreams. It's like if you keep those dreams out there and you keep them in your mind, it doesn't matter doesn't matter how low you fall.
Mm-hmm.
If you've got that dream, you surround yourself with supportive people, you'll do it. You'll make it. You will get to wherever it is that you aspire to get to. And I truly believe it. I live this life.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be my parting words for anyone out there. It's like whatever dream that you have, keep it in the forefront of your mind and don't let your obstacles become
Right
the
here.
death of those dreams. Yes.
Right here.
There. Yes.
Use your let this be your goal and let that be your carrot and let it follow you to the point of success.
Exactly. Yeah.
Jan, thank you so much. I'll give you a big hug. Thank you for coming and talking with me.
Yes, thank you so much for having me, and thank you guys for watching us do this. This is pretty awesome.
All right. Take care now. I'll talk to you. Stay
All
in the
right.
broadcast room. I got to say something real fast. All right?
Okay, awesome.
All right. So we had a great opportunity to talk with Jan. She's absolutely wonderful. That's why I was glad to be able to talk with her today. And as I always say, take care of yourself, take care of your family, and take care of others, y'all. Peace.